If bigger priorities comes up, you just sacrifice the less priority. You're better off having a team of a couple people guiding and assisting you and sitting next to you, which I do. When it comes to meetings, prioritizing any meeting is based on, once you have the meeting, what's the biggest impact or result on the other side of that meeting. So for example, if I'm having a meeting about partnerships or about acquiring a business or about a big strategic initiative, and I know that if we deploy that strategic initiative or we partner with somebody or we buy that business, it's going to add an enormous amount of value. Now, that doesn't mean to say that if there's an important conversation that needs to take place with an employee or with a business partner on something strategically, it doesn't mean I'll push that meeting off. I'll still take that meeting, I'll just shorten it. So I think a lot of people take meetings just because they think it's going to take a lot of time. So you can always reduce a meeting if you think it's less priority. Now, I have done that before where I'm like, look, I have 5 minutes. Let's just figure out what we need to talk about in 5 minutes. And then realized in the 5 minutes that it's going to result in a bigger opportunity than I understood before I took that meeting. So now what I'm doing is prioritizing the next meeting or the next one. So you could either reschedule it and take that call as soon as possible or push off the next meeting because this all of a sudden opened the door to a bigger meeting. So for me, the opportunity of a meeting is far greater importance than even who I'm having the meeting with. And so you got to sometimes sort that because your day is comprised of a certain amount of time. And in that certain amount of time, you're trying to create the highest performance possible. And so you got to understand, like the more stuff you have on your calendar, the more productive you're going to be. And then as you're working through your calendar, if bigger priorities comes up, you just sacrifice the less priority. You're better off having a team of a couple people guiding and assisting you and sitting next to you, which I do, so that they can interrupt my meeting and say there's something more important, or they can take whatever I'm doing off of my plate and go have the meeting for me because they kind of know what I want it to do in that meeting. So diversifying through your people is sometimes better than you trying to put more things on your meeting that have less return on your time. So in my experience, the wealthier you get, meaning me, you have one or two tracks. You either get isolated and start thinking about all the things you want to own, or you start giving a lot back to the community because you're appreciative and you have more. My personal track is a balance between those two things. I give a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, but I also built my business as a charitable organization because I'm giving my time. I don't need to work. Yes, I make money while I work. I'm a for-profit, but at the end of the day, I'm still dedicating and committing my time to developing and helping others achieve their goals. So to me, that is my charitable contribution. I just figured out a way to monetize it. And I think as you become more successful, in my case, you start looking at different ways you can invest your time, your money, your knowledge, and share it with people in order to impact their lives. And so I think it's each individual, but in my case, I feel like every day that I'm speaking to another human being, I'm donating information or energy or time or effort in supporting and helping them achieve their goals. I calculate on an annual basis based on the number of business owners and individuals I work with. I believe somewhere around 350 millionaires and multimillionaires I've impacted in the last 20 years. My last company, that business alone, I had 220 of them. I could have retired 5 years ago because I hit all my wealth targets. And I think that once you give up, once you concede that, you go from generating resources to exhausting them. So the way I view the world is I'm either generating resources or exhausting resources. So once I retire, I've spent the rest of my life exhausting resources because I'm not generating resources. And I think for me, I will always generate resources, which means I'll never retire. I prefer to come into the office instead of going on the golf course because I'm actually a better golfer when I've had a lot of wins. When I'm not having wins and I'm not feeling productive, I'm a worse golfer. So if I'm going to enjoy my time on the golf course, I need to know that I did my best when I wasn't on the golf course. There was a point in time where I was playing golf every day and I enjoyed it less and less and less. My most fond memories of golfing and loving it is when I was working really super hard and the golf was so that I could take a break, rest, relax, hang out with friends. So for me, I would rather spend my time in the office working with people I'm conquering with than hanging out on the golf course, having fun with people I have fun with. For me, it's just much more interesting to conquer and dominate and win than it is to be on the golf course enjoying my time with a handful of friends. Yeah, well, since starting Cardone Ventures and building a business in 4 years, that's 4 times larger than the business I built in 14 years, my inner circle has actually contracted and gotten smaller because I have less time to spend with my friends that aren't actively building with me. Doesn't mean they're not my friends, it's just my priority is in building the business and helping the people that are helping me build the business. And so what happens is you spend higher quality of time around lesser people because you're doing so much more and you can't do a lot through lots of people simultaneously. So what's happened for me in the last 4 years is my inner circle has compressed and gotten a lot smaller. My friendship circle, I would say, has expanded, but I don't spend a lot of time with friends if I'm not building with friends. Because I've prioritized, if I have a certain amount of time in the day between my family, my business, and the impact I'm driving in this world, if we're not aligned in one of those 3 categories, then I don't have a lot of extra time to be spending with people.